Excellent. So for those who might be watching the video later on, let me just tell you that we're going to start today by reading Canto 1 straight through in English only. And then we're going to read through Canto 2 in English straight through. And then we will go back and begin to read small sections of Canto 2 and discussing what we're reading. So there we go. And with that, I will find my copy and I got to change it to English. Okay. Canto 1. This is Longfellow. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, with a straightway path, straightforward way, pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say. What was this force savage, rough and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear? So bitter it is. Death is little more. But of the good to treat which there I found, speak will I of the other things I saw there. I cannot well repeat how there I entered. So full was I of slumber at the moment in which I had abandoned the true way. But after I had reached a mountain's foot, at that point where the valley terminated, which had in consternation pierced my heart, upward I looked, and I beheld its shoulders vested already in that planet's rays which leadeth others right by every road. Next, please. Who's next?
And
Okay, yes, I just realized that. Thank you. Um, and then, and this a little quieted the affright that lurking in my bosom's lake had lain through the long horror of that piteous night. And as a swimmer panting from the main heaves safe to shore, then comes to face the drive of perilous seas and looks again. So while my soul yet fled, did I contrive to turn and gaze on that dread pass once more, whence no man yet came ever out alive. Weary of limb, I rested a brief hour, then rose and onward through the desert hied, so that the fixed foot always was the lower. And see, not far from where the mountainside first rose, a leopard, nimble and light and fleet, clothed in a fine furred pelt, all dappled dye. Next.
Oh, where?
never moved she from before my face, nay, rather did impede so much my way, that many times I to return had turned. The time was the beginning of the morning, and up the sun was mounting with those stars that with him were. What time the love divine at first in motion set those beauteous things, so were to me occasion of good hope the variegated skin of that wild beast, the hour of time and the delicious season, but not so much that did not give me fear, a lion's aspect which appeared to me. He seemed as if against me he were coming, with head uplifted and with ravenous hunger, so that it seemed the air was afraid of him. And a she-wolf, with all hungering, seemed to be laden in her meagerness, and many folk has cause to live forlorn. She brought upon me so much heaviness with the affright that from her aspect came that I the hope relinquished of the height. Next.
As a as a man who, rejoicing in his gains, suddenly seeing his gain turn into loss, will grieve as he compares his then and now. As she made me do, that relentless beast, coming towards me, slowly, step by step. She forced me back to where the sun is mute. While I was rushing down to that low place, my eyes made out a figure coming towards me, of one grown faint, perhaps from too much silence. And when I saw him standing in the wasteland, "Have pity on my soul," I cried to him. "Whatever you are, shade or living man." "No longer living man, though once I was," he said. "And my parents from Lombardy, both of them, were Mantuans by birth. I was born, though somewhat late, sub Julio, and lived in Rome when good Augustus reigned, when still the false and lying gods were worshipped. I was a poet and sang of that just man, son of Anchises, who sailed off from Troy after the burning of proud Ilium." Next.
But thou, why goest thou back to such annoyance? Why climbest thou not the mount delectable, which is the source and cause of every joy? Now, art thou that Virgilius and that fountain which spreads abroad so wide a river of speech? I made response to him with bashful forehead. Oh, of the other poets' honour and light, avail me the long study and great love that have impelled me to explore thy volume. Thou art my master and my author through. Thou art alone the one from whom I took the beautiful style that has done honour to me. Behold the beast from which I have turned back. Do thou protect me from her, famous sage, for she doth make my veins and pulses tremble. Thee it behoves to take another road, responded he, when he beheld me weeping, if from this savage place thou wouldest escape. Next, please.
Because this beast at which thou criest out suffers not anyone to pass her way, but so doth harass him that she destroys him, and has a nature so malign and ruthless that never doth she glut her greedy will, and after food is hungrier than before. Many the animals with whom she weds, and more they shall be still, until the greyhound comes who shall make her perish in her pain. He shall not feed on either earth or pelf, but upon wisdom and on love and virtue. Twixt Feltro and Feltro shall his nation be. Of that low Italy shall he be the savior, on whose account the maid Camilla died, Euryalus Turnus Nisus of their wounds. Through every city shall he hunt her down, until he shall have driven her back to hell, there from whence envy first did let her loose. Therefore I think and judge it for the best, thou follow me, and I will be thy guide, and lead thee hence through the eternal place, where thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shalt see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each one for the second death. Next, please.
And thou shalt see those who contented are within the fire, because they hope to come, whene'er it may be, to the blessed people. To whom then, if thou wishest to ascend, a soul shall be, for that then I am more worthy. With her at my departure I will leave thee. Because that emperor who reigns above, in that I was rebellious to his law, wills that through me none come into his city. He governs everywhere, and there he reigns. There is his city and his lofty throne. O happy he whom thereto here he elects. And I said to him, Poet, I thee entreat, by that same God whom thou didst never know, so that I may escape this woe and worse, thou wouldst conduct me there, where thou hast said, that I may see the portal of St. Peter, and those thou makest so disconsolate. Then he moved on, and I behind him followed. Next.
Okay. So we'll go to the next canto. Give me just a second while I change cantos.
Should I read the Sayer's introduction?
If you like, certainly go right
Okay.
ahead.
Moment to retrieve it. Canto 2, the story. Dante's attempts to climb the mountain have taken the whole day, and it is now Good Friday evening. Dante has not gone far before he loses heart and begins to make excuse. To his specious arguments, Virgil replies flatly, "This is mere cowardice," and then tells how Beatrice, prompted by St. Lucy at the instance of the Virgin Mary herself, descended into limbo to entreat him to go to Dante's rescue. Thus encouraged, Dante pulls himself together and they start off. Done.
Okay. Done. All right. So I will begin Canto 2. Day was departing, and the embrowned air released the animals that are on earth from their fatigues. And I, the only one, made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likewise of the woe, which memory that errs shall not retrace. O muses, O high genius, now assist me, O memory, that didst write down what I saw, here thy nobility shall be manifest. And I began, Poet, who guidest me, regard my manhood, if it be sufficient, ere to the arduous pass that dost confide me. Thou sayest that of Silvius the parent, well yet corruptible, and to the world immortal went, and was there bodily. But if the adversary of all evil was courteous, thinking of the high effect, that issue would from him, and who and what, to men of intellect unmeet, it seems not, for he was of great Rome, and of her empire in the imperial heaven as father chosen. Next, please.
And the Anne is gone, so
And disappeared.
up
So
to you, Dee Dee.
The which and what, wishing to speak the truth, were stabilized as the holy place wherein sits the successor of the greatest Peter. Upon this journey, whence thou givest him vaunt, things did he hear, which on the occasion were both of his victory and the papal mantle. Thither went afterwards the chosen vessel to bring back comfort thence unto the faith, which of salvation's way is the beginning. But I, why thither come, or who concedes it? I, not Aeneas am, I am not Paul, nor I, nor others think me worthy of it. Therefore, if I resign myself to come, I fear the coming may be ill-advised. Thou art wise and knowest better than I speak. And as he is who unwills what he willed, and by new thoughts doth his intention change, so that from his design he quite withdraws, such I became upon the dark hillside, because in thinking I consumed the emprise which was so very prompt in the beginning. Next.
If I have truly understood your words, that shade of magnanimity replied, your soul is burdened with that cowardice which often weighs so heavily on man. It turns him from a noble enterprise like a frightened beast that shies at its own shadow. To free from this fear, let me explain the reason I came here. The words I heard that for the first time I felt pity for your soul. I was among those dead who are suspended. When a lady summoned me, she was so blessed and beautiful. I implored her to command me. With eyes of light more bright than any star, in low, soft tones, she started to address me in her own language with an angel's voice. O noble soul, courteous Mantuan, whose fame the world continues to preserve and will preserve as long as world there is. My friend, who is no friend of fortune's, strays on a desert slope. So many obstacles have crossed his path. His fright has turned him back. Next.
And may, I fear, already be so lost, that I too late have risen to his succour, from that which I have heard of him in heaven. Bestir thee now, and with thy speech ornate, and with what needful is for his release, assist him so that I may be consoled. Beatrice am I, who did bid thee go. I come from there where I would fain return. Love moved me, which compelled me to speak. When I shall be in presence of my Lord, full often will I praise thee upon him. Then paused she, and thereafter I began. O Lady of Virtue, thou alone through whom the human race exceeded all contained, within the heaven that has the lesser arches. So grateful unto me is thy commandment, to obey which were already done, were late, no further needest thou ope to me thy wish. But the cause tell me, why thou dost not shun the here descending down into the centre, from the vast place thou buriest to return to, since thou wouldst fain so inwardly discern. Briefly will I relate, she answered me, why I am not afraid to enter here. Next, please.
Of those things only should one be afraid, which have the power of doing others harm. Of the rest, no, because they are not fearful. God in his mercy such created me, that misery of yours attains me not, nor any flame assails me of this burning. A gentle lady is in heaven who grieves at this impediment to which I send thee, so that stern judgment there above is broken. In her entreaty she besought Lucia, and said, thy faithful one now stands in need of thee, and unto thee I recommend him. Lucia, foe of all that cruel is, hastened away and came unto the place where I was sitting with the ancient Rachel. Beatrice, said she, the true praise of God, why succourest thou not him who loved thee so? For thee he issued from the vulgar herd. Dost thou not hear the pity of his plaint? Dost thou not see the death that combats him, beside that flood where ocean has no vaunt? Never were persons in the world so swift to work their weal or to escape their woe, as I, after such words as these were uttered, came hither downward from my blessed seat, confiding in thy dignified discourse, which honors thee and those who've listened to it. Next, please.
After she thus had spoken unto me, weeping, her shining eyes she turned away, whereby she made me swifter in my coming. And unto thee I came, and as she desired, I have delivered thee from that wild beast, which barred the beautiful mountain's short ascent. What is it then? Why dost thou delay? Why is such baseness bedded in thy heart? Daring and hardihood, why hast thou not, seeing that 3 such ladies be tonight, are caring for thee in the court of heaven, and so much my good speech doth promise thee. Even as the flowerets by nocturnal shell, bowed down and closed, when the sun whitens them, uplift themselves on their stems, all open on their stems. Such I became with my exhausted strength, and such good courage to my heart there coursed, that I began like an intrepid person. O she compassionate, who succored me, and courteous thou, who hast obeyed so soon, the words of truth which she addressed to thee. Thou hast my heart so with desire disposed to the adventure with these words of thine, that to my first intent I have returned. Now go, for one sole will is in us both, thou leader and thou Lord, and master thou. Thus said I to him, and when he had moved, I entered on the deep and savage way.
Mhm. Okay, I shall read a little bit, and if you want to stop before I stop, uh, just uh, just tell me, and we can do that. Okay. Day was departing, and the embrowned air released the animals that are on earth from their fatigues. And I, the only one, made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likewise of the woe, which memory that errs shall not retrace.
What
Mhm.
did we just read? Memory that errs shall not retrace.
I think we read that he doesn't want to think about what happened earlier.
I think he didn't want to take the purgatory route where he would have to retrace his offenses, his sins, his deadly sins. Does that sound like what it might be?
I don't think that he's aware of what actually is going to happen. I think that he is just, as we will find out a little bit later in this canto, he's just feeling a little timid about the whole thing because who is he to be going down through these things? So, but I think in this particular case, he's actually just referring to, his fright when he woke up in the wood and the animals and all of that.
So he's thinking of just leaving this journey he had embarked on.
He's thinking about soldier not made. Okay, look at line 4. Made myself ready to sustain the war, both of the way and likewise of the woe. Yeah, I have to confess that I actually don't know at this point.
But in my notes,
Mhm.
and I've got a Penguin classic translated by Mark Musa. Never heard of him. But anyway, and I seem to vaguely remember from Cambridge that there was great discussion about pity, of the journey and of pity. The theme of the pilgrim's pity is a major motif of the Inferno, and one that is particularly important for the education of the pilgrim. This is the first mention of pity in the Divine Comedy.
Okay, that's Pity, right? Pity.
Yes. I have it in mind. I don't know. I have it in mind. You didn't mention that. You didn't refer to pity. I think you used another word, Duncan. What?
Yeah, it's pity
Yeah.
in Sayers, and it's
Yeah, it's on line 5. Was
yeah,
making
Oh,
Line 5, both of the way and likewise of the woe.
right.
yeah.
And it isn't pity. The word that idea isn't even there.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised because he doesn't even know. he doesn't even know about the pity part yet. So I'm a little surprised that Musa would have translated it as pity. He knows that he feels pretty miserable. He's aware of that, but we only learn later on that he is, in a sense, being pitied enough. He's being pitied by three female spirits.
And we
He's
don't
really
have that old
discovered.
Italian. It's a shame that Max isn't here.
But you know, but
Well,
yes, so what's your word? It's not pity, yours is woe.
whoa.
Yeah, and
I'm-
Sylvia, can you read that
Yeah,
verse?
I was going to, and I'm just going back and I, one man alone, was making ready to endure the battle of the journey and of the pity it involved, which my memory unerring shall now retrace.
Okay.
That is from, that's 4 till, yeah, 4,
And
5.
he pities a lot of the people he meets in Inferno.
Yeah, but he didn't know that yet.
Well, we don't have the Italian.
Well, we have the Italian. I just ran the Italian through, and it easily translated it as yes of the journey and yes of the pity.
Did it? Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he's
What pity means in this case is, I don't know.
and he's telling the story. He's remembering it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he
He could remember pity.
yeah, looking back, he can
Yeah.
the word pity would be.
It's interesting. Has anybody else got any other translation?
I guess I'll say, just listening to the conversation here, in a way, my sense is that it's used the way that it comes out is a little ambiguous. What what the memory's referring to of what heirs shall not retrace, and whether or not it's just you might say, the immediately related incident or the experience he's gone through that's brought him up to Canto 2, or is he remembering? I think you talked about one of the last sessions about, in a sense, he's recalling from memory, in a sense, his whole journey into the Inferno. So is he referring? What is he referring to? He may be referring here to the pity that he is recalling he experienced as a result of that entire journey.
Yeah, that and ambiguous.
Yes,
ambiguous. Yeah, not knowing
right.
if he foresaw it or if he realized looking back.
I think we can live with the ambiguity.
Right.
Okay.
There's a lot of it. There's a lot of it in there.
There will be a lot of it in the future also. Yes. And that's, I was reading in Barolini, she said one of the things that you're going to notice a lot of, if you look for it, is that in spite of the fact that at the end of Canto 1, he had resolved to follow Virgil, that we quickly find out that in Canto 2, he's already beginning to doubt. And he's kind of going back to the midpoint again between should I or shouldn't I?
And she's talking about the confusion, and this ambiguity makes sense, of Dante the pilgrim and Dante the storyteller. There are two Dantes as we read along. That's what Barolini, that I learned from Barolini.
And supposedly we can tell which is which from whether it's present tense or past tense.
Maybe. She seems to think it confuses the reader, his reader, and he knows he's doing it.
Okay, so Dee Dee, you were the one who stopped us. So are you satisfied with what we've done
Yeah,
in
yeah,
response?
absolutely.
I,
Okay.
I don't, John, can I just ask John, Classics John, I'm going to call him Classics John. John, the Muses, is that a classical reference?
Yeah, there were 9 muses, and it's commonplace in ancient epic to invoke one or more of the muses. Homer does it at the very beginning of the Iliad, although he uses the more generic word goddess. And so this is the first of a whole lot of times where Dante brings in figures from the classical world
Mhm.
into his Christian context.
Hmm.
Right. And my understanding is that this was actually unusual. This was almost an innovation of his to mix the classical with the Christian.
That might well be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I seem to have found that probably in Barolini or maybe from Duncan. That
Don't
sounds
know.
or some, or maybe Stairs has an introduction in her version of her translation. It may be there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
But
may
Homer,
remember. Mhm.
sorry, Homer and Virgil were writing before Christianity, so they would have
Right.
only been invoking the muses.
That's right.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
was supposedly, or you kind of assume it's the church teaching that he's teaching, but it's not just the church.
Yeah. Maybe you remember back in Paradiso in Canto 1, where he was Dante was appealing to Apollo to help him
That's
with his
right.
poetry. So this is an earlier version of that. Oh, muses, oh, high genius, now assist me. Oh, memory that didst write down what I saw, here thy nobility shall be manifest.
So the nobility of this classical powers.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Okay. What does the next reader take over?
Anne is gone. I guess I'm next.
Yep.
And I began, Poet who guidest me, regard my manhood, if it be sufficient, ere to the arduous past thou dost confide me. Thou sayest that of Silvius the parent, while yet corruptible unto the world, immortal went, and was there bodily. I'm stopping there.
Okay.
Hmm.
The parent of Silvius.
And that's Aeneas.
That's Aeneas. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is
That of Silvius the parent.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
this is a reference to book 6 of the Aeneid, where Aeneas ventures into the underworld and
Mm-hmm.
speaks with his father. I'm a little puzzled by line 11, why he chose regard my manhood, because that sounds like he's saying, am I tough enough? But it seems like he
Mm-hmm.
should be saying, am I virtuous enough? And the Italian is virtu, which back in Latin could be manliness or virtue or whatever, but I think by this, certainly in modern Italian, it's only virtue. The idea of manliness has been lost.
Mhm.
Theirs is different. It's to test my powers and weigh their worth, ere trusting me to this great enterprise. So she has a different
Mm. And,
uh,
and mine
impression.
and mine goes off even further. Tell me if you think my worth sufficient. So it's even more obscure.
I get
Well,
the sense he's using that word, my manhood, is in the sense more of like my mortality. I'm not an immortal, and maybe my manhood really is the fact that I'm only a human. If that's sufficient before you confide me this journey through this pass.
Yeah. Well, I think John the Elder though is correct. If you look at the Italian,
Mhm.
it is virtue instead of manhood,
Yeah, it does
and
say, I see that.
it
Yeah.
seems to me that virtue is the better translation as well.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And why Longfellow chose manhood is a mystery to me, because basically he's in Dante's knowledge, he only knows of two living people. Actually, he knows of three, but he knows of Aeneas and he knows of Paul, and he knows of Odysseus, but he doesn't want to be a transgressor of Odysseus. Odysseus just barged into Hades, but both Aeneas and Paul were, shall we say, worthy of going and had approval to go into the Inferno. And so he does not think that he is anywhere near as worthy as those two examples, and he doesn't want to be Odysseus. And that is the reason for this question and concern.
Okay.
Is this Odysseus leaving the allowed world and going into out of the Mediterranean?
This
Is
is
that what
where one of his men, I forget, maybe one of you others can remind me of which one of Odysseus's crew members went descended into Hades, and Odysseus went to check on him.
Oh, I don't remember. Now we have to read the Odyssey.
Well, either that or just look it up.
Yeah. Well, I have a question while you're looking that up concerning this. Are we to understand as modern readers that Dante understood then that people like Aeneas and or well, I guess Aeneas or Odysseus
and
were
Paul?
well, but I mean, Paul is, I think everybody believes. I don't think anybody doubts that Paul was a real human being. But Aeneas and Odysseus are mythological, almost like mythological people. They were
Yes,
people.
yes.
So, I mean, does Virgil, I should say, does Dante think of the Dante of Virgil, Aeneas, and Odysseus as like real human beings, as if these were real histories? Or is he treating that as maybe he's just treating that way for poetic purposes or something? But it seems odd to me to think about three real people where two of them which are not real. At least
Yeah.
yeah.
And he put Odysseus down in the middle of the Inferno somewhere. Odysseus is really important here.
Yes, he is very important because Odysseus is the emblematic of transgression. The one who doesn't ask if he's worthy, the one who doesn't ask for permission, the one who just does what he wants to do. And my understanding is that Dante is contrasting himself with Odysseus, and he does not want to be a transgressor. He wants actually to be authorized. And so that's the reason for him questioning Virgil at this point.
And he's afraid. I'm sorry, Dante.
Yeah, I was just basically saying, is it okay? Is it really okay that little old me, in my body gets to go to the Inferno? Is that okay?
And his fear, that fear goes all the way through to almost the end of Paradise.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
the last canto.
Yes.
I got to believe if he's the Christian, if he's a devout Christian, it's got to be going through his head that if he's going into the Inferno, he's probably wondering if he's ever going to come out. So
Yeah,
at that point, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
But,
yeah. Mhm.
So somebody mentioned before Dante the author and Dante the character who's undergoing this adventure. If we think of Dante the author, this is also a little bit arrogant, because by saying he expresses doubt that he's worthy, but he's going to go on the same journey as these two predecessors, and very large positive things came out of that. Aeneas founded what eventually became the Rome that had the empire that allowed Christianity to spread. And of course, Paul is central to Christian thought.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
on one level, he is putting himself in there with these giants,
Mhm.
although he's doing it a little bit duplicitously by saying, "Am I worthy?"
Aha.
And of course, he's going to go on and do it.
It's a rhetorical question, in other words. That's nice. Thanks for tying that together, John. That's nicely done.
Yeah,
So the
exactly.
character doesn't know, but the author knows. He wrote the whole thing.
Well, but also the author, this is the author's version of Virgil, who's going to answer his question.
Of course.
So yeah, it's both arrogant and humble all at the same time. It's an interesting mix. But at least he has himself as Dante, the character, asking the question, am I worthy? And as we will find out later in this canto, Virgil's going to make a pretty good argument of why it's okay.
Right.
Oh.
So who's next? Anne M. Can you read starting line 10? Or
I'm sorry, I don't know where you are. My computer died and it's been a heck of a time to get it set up again. I'm sorry.
We're on canto 2.
Sylvia.
Canto 2, and then did you say line 10?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read that. And I'm reading from Sayers. Okay,
No, we're further on.
That's what I would think.
No, that's where I stopped. I got stuck with.
So we discussed it.
Are we not on 16?
Did I stop on 16?
Yeah, we did. You did stop on 16.
Okay.
Because we had that discussion about Sylvius being the parent of Aeneas.
Right, yeah.
Aeneas and Lavinia are the parents.
Okay, so I guess start at 16.
Okay. Granted, if hell's great foeman deign to show to him such favor, seeing the vast effect, and what and who has detained, who destined issue, no. That need surprise no thoughtful intellect, since to Rome's fostering city and empery, high heaven had sealed him as the father elect. Both these were there established, verily, to found that place, holy and dedicate, wherein great Peter's heir should hold his see. So that the deed thy verses celebrate taught him the road to victory and bestowed the papal mantle in its high estate. Thither the chosen vessel in like mode went forward, and much confirmed thereby the faith that sets us on salvation's road.
Okay, I think
Yeah,
we could. That's more than enough for the
yeah.
moment.
Line
Oh, are
30.
we okay? We're talking about the passages now. Is that it?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
talking about the
Oh,
passages.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
So the adversary of all evil.
Well, it seems to me he's talking about Jesus here, and as being kind of the founder of the faith, because he seems to, in the succeeding lines, seems to be, well, he's packing a lot in here. I guess to me, an entire, you might say, a whole theory of history about how, almost like of destiny of history of the development of the faith of the church, and
Mhm.
with the Pope at the head, as developed, as you said, it was by establishing Rome and then establishing the holy place of the where Peter, that was the first heir to Christ's mantle and to his crown and on earth, and then to the succeeding popes. So the
Mhm.
adversary of all evil would seem to be Jesus to me, or God.
According to Sayers, it's God.
Mhm.
Yeah. Perfect.
God the Father. Yes.
She just says God, so it could be Jesus too.
Right.
Or, oh,
Mhm. And if the adversary of all evil was courteous, think he has a high effect that issue would from him and who and what. That's I cannot say that I understand this. Men of intellect unmet, it seems not. For he was of great Rome and of her empire, in the imperial heaven as father chosen. But which and what? Hmm.
that would issue from him would be his son, that would Silvius. Um, while yet corruptible, unto the world immortal went.
Yeah, well, that these lines 13 through 15 are very clear. He's saying, look, Aeneas, who was the son of Silvius, while he was still in the body, went in unto the world immortal went and was there bodily. So that's his first example. A human being, albeit a fictional human being,
Mhm.
in the body entered hell. So that's example number one. Uh, and
So
then why 16 through 18, why those lines? I don't know.
Well, it seems I think those are just his poetic way of saying, thinking of realizing of the Almighty, thinking of what would happen, of being the planner of destiny of the future, and
Mhm.
he was thinking of all these things, of the high effect that issue would from him and who and what. Um, to I think to men of intellect unmeet, it seems not. Uh,
Mhm.
it seems like he didn't care what the men of intellect would think. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
and said, but for he was of great Rome and of her empire, and the imperial heaven as father chosen. He was the
Mm-hmm.
father of great Rome and her empire in the imperial heaven, in the heavenly realm.
Mm-hmm.
Say that again, John.
Well, he's saying to the mental intellect, I think he's saying it doesn't really matter what men of intellect would think, but he was the Father in heaven, who the adversary of all evil was the Father chosen of, for he was the father of the great Rome and of our empire in the heavenly realm. And so there went on to speaking this truth, he establishes the holy place wherein sits the successor of the greatest Peter. So, that's the Pope today, or that Pope then, all popes, that was established as a holy place. That is Rome.
Okay. I mean, okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, that's one point of view.
Well, that makes sense to me, that
Yeah.
God was looking at Aeneas as becoming the founder of Rome, out of which would come the church after Rome what had been founded and existed. Does that get you anywhere, Duncan?
No, but I'm not worried about it. I
Oh,
mean, I'm perfectly content to leave these lines muddled for the moment, because I think we have, to use an old expression, we have bigger fish to fry
Right.
a little bit very soon. Because basically, the real question, the meat of this is, am I Dante? Is it okay for I, Dante, in the body to go into the Inferno when I only know of two examples of actually he knows of three, but I only know of very few examples of people who have gone in the body into the infernal depths, and I'm not sure I'm up to their standards. That's really the main thing that he's interested in. He needs assurance.
yeah, and Virgil, he's asking Virgil.
He's asking
And
Virgil, why me? Why me?
mhm.
I mean, I know I'm a pretty good poet, but I'm not sure that that's a good enough qualification for following you into these areas. So what's going on here? Why do I get to do this? When
And
I
he
know
doesn't have the answer yet.
he
Yeah.
doesn't have the answer yet. He's as they say, trembling in his boots.
Mhm.
But in this Penguin edition, the comparison between Dante and the Pilgrim, Dante the Pilgrim and the Apostle Paul, I mean, it's covering all what you've been saying. Sorry, I'm just continuing. And the Apostle Paul is also significant by extending the simile, as was done in the case of Aeneas. The reader may consider the pilgrim, like St. Paul, a chosen vessel, inverted commas, one who, granted sufficient grace for his journey, will strengthen the faith of mankind through it. And then in brackets, by writing the Divine Comedy.
So what you're saying, Sylvia, it sounds like in a way he's talking about comparing to Paul, himself to Paul, in a sense, is strength. Right, he's writing this to strengthen people's faith, and as Paul strengthened and founded the faith in Christianity. Is that something like what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's again what this translator is suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Huh.
In a different Paul's vision served to strengthen the Christian faith, the same faith which is basic to the pilgrims, and by extension, salvation. The first step on salvation's road, which the pilgrim took when he turned away from the dark wood in Canto 1.
Huh. I feel a little bit in Dante's position right now, because I'm going to say you're reading the Mark Musa
Yeah,
notes. Okay.
yeah.
So I'm wondering why Musa would say that, frankly, because at this particular point, Dante does not know that he is going to write a great poem. He's just been found trembling in the woods, and went up to a stranger who happily turned out to be Virgil, his favorite poet. And Virgil has promised to help him. So he's, from my point of view, Dante's strictly in survival mode right now. And he's not
Mhm.
even really sure what the hell's going on, much less that he's going to write, one of the great epic poems to help with mankind's salvation. He's just wondering what's going on here. I was scared to death of those animals just a while ago. I discovered Virgil, and now he's going to take me into the Inferno. Me? Why me? Why do I? And that's really his concerns are very immediate.
Well, I guess I'd like to make a small comment here, an observation about. He compares Aeneas and he says, "I'm not Paul," but Paul, and there's no reference in the New Testament of Paul descending into hell. Paul does make a reference, though, in a very I forget which of his letters he refers to being taken up into the third heaven or something like that. He talks about a very profound mystical experience, wherein he talks about this thorn in his side. And I wonder in a way if maybe he's also saying, he's got maybe some foreshadowing here. Dante's foreshadowing a little bit that he sees this as being something of a mystical journey of that kind. As he doesn't know if it's in the underworld or to the high heavens at this point.
Okay.
Well, they're in Sayers in my version, Penguin. I think Sayers is creating these comments. His vision of hell is described in the 4th century apocryphal book known as the Apocalypse of Paul, which Dante had evidently read. And there's also something in Corinthians 12 about this, 12 to. So
2 to 4 in Corinthians 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just confirming what John said, in the second epistle to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul alludes to his mystical elevation to the third heaven and to the arcane messages pronounced there. But then it goes on, the medieval Viso Sancti Pauli relates his journey through the realms of the dead. So I don't really know, but I mean that's hundreds of years later. So I don't really know what that is.
Well, that's what I say. That must have, if there's a book of an apocryphal book that you say Dante would have read, it's like a Gnostic book or something like that. A Gnostic of these Gnostic Gospels. That maybe that's what that's referring to, but that's not in the let's say the what do you call it, the standard scripture, I guess the accepted.
Right, it's in the
scripture.
apocryphal.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So let me read a note from Barolini. Okay. The protagonist fears he is not qualified to undertake this journey through the afterlife because he is not Aeneas, not St. Paul.
Okay, one or the other.
Line 32. And that by taking this journey, he risks becoming a transgressor, a Ulysses, bent on a mad and reckless voyage. And line 35, I fear my venture may be mad.
Yeah, that's in the next bit.
That's in the next bit. So there's our three right there: Aeneas, Paul, and then the person he doesn't want to be, Ulysses.
Okay. Good.
All right. So I suggest. So we're almost there. We're up to 33, I think.
Yep.
No, we're 31.
31. Okay, so whoever's reading, please read on.
I think it's me.
Okay.
But why am I to go? Who allows me to? I am not Aeneas. I am not Paul. Neither I nor any man would think me worthy. And so, if I should undertake the journey, I fear it might turn out an act of folly. You are wise. You see more than my words express. As one who unwills what he willed, will change his purpose with some new second thought, completely quitting what he had first started.
Mm-hmm.
Should I go on?
I think let's stop right there for a second.
Mm.
So this seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's had, already he's having serious doubts about this whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
I remember at the end of Canto 1, he had, he was gonna follow Virgil wherever he went. And now we've just walked a little ways and he's already beginning to wonder about this whole venture.
In 33, it's like worthy of it. He's trying to be modest. But if we go to 45, Virgil says, thy soul attained is with cowardness.
Okay, so why don't we read a little bit further then? So Sylvia, you want to read some more, or do you want to pass the torch?
No. So I did, standing there on that dark slope, thinking, ending the beginning of that venture I was so quick to take up at the start.
Mm-hmm.
If I have truly understood your words, that shade of magnanimity replied, your soul is burdened with that cowardice.
Mm-hmm. Keep reading.
Which often weighs so heavily on man. It turns him from a noble enterprise, like a frightened beast that shines at its own shadow, that shies at its own shadow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Very much okay. That seems very clear
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
and very human of Dante.
Mm-hmm.
That
Like very
and
wise.
wise in that wimpy way.
No, Virgil is being wise.
Oh, Virgil's
By
being
saying,
wise. Yes.
by saying he's a coward.
Yeah.
Well, by saying that people don't dare do something they really believe is the right thing to do because they don't trust themselves. They don't
Mm-hmm.
think they're strong enough and wise enough, even though they have an important thing that they should be doing.
Yeah, I think that, well, of course that's true, but there's also the other fact where actually it turns out that people are convinced that there's something they should do, and it turns out that they really shouldn't have done it.
That's true too. But
And
Dante,
and
he's
so
supposed to.
Dante is actually being very prudent here, and asking for, okay, so Verge, tell me how how what gives me permission to do this? And as we'll find out, Virgil has a very good answer.
But Dante couched it in terms of whether he's worthy of it. His reluctance is that he's not sure he's worthy of it. And Virgil boils it down to cowardice. You're afraid. So
Mhm.
Virgil's a little harder on him than he is on himself, maybe.
Is the word in Italian cowardice?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, Viltada.
see, what line is that? What line is it?
45.
45, line
45.
45.
La anima tua è da vitade offesa. Here we go. Yeah, your soul is offended by cowardice. But even though Virgil's being hard on him, he immediately gives him a very good answer of why Dante can go with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I would say that Dante is absolutely correct in asking the question.
Oh, absolutely. That's
Sayers,
wise too.
Sayers calls it black cowardice,
Black
sheer
coward.
sheer black cowardice, which
Yeah.
day by day lays ambushes for men,
Amen.
checking the speed of honorable purpose in mid-flight.
And having a little bit of Odysseus in me, I would say that's a little harsh of Virgil.
I thought so.
You know, uh, what people call cowardice has saved many a fool, actually. And I think that Dante absolutely has a right to ask, why me? And as we will see, I think we should go on. Virgil, immediately after calling uh, Dante a dirty, rotten coward, it's going to give Dante a great answer. I mean, one of the most fantastic answers ever to a question like this. So let us read on.
Where did you stop, Sylvia? 51?
I stopped at 48.
Okay, 40 is perfect. That thou mayest free thee from this apprehension, I tell thee why I came, and what I heard at the first moment when I grieved for thee. Among those was I who are in suspense, and a fair, saintly lady called to me, in such wise I besought her to command me. Her eyes were shining brighter than the star, and she began to say, gentle and low, with voice angelical, in her own language, O spirit courteous of Mantua, of whom the fame is still in the world endures, and shall endure, long lasting as the world. A friend of mine, and not the friend of fortune, upon the desert slope is so impeded upon his way that he has turned through terror, and may, I fear, already be so lost that I too late have risen to his succour, but that which I have heard of him in heaven. Bestir thee now, and with thy speech ornate, and with what needful is for his release, assist him so that I may be concluded. Beatrice am I who did bid thee go. I came from there where I would fain return. Love moved me, which compelled me to speak. Okay.
I think that's a good chunk right there.
Yeah. Heaven. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of self-explanatory in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I say. It's very straight ahead. It's actually quite amusing that Virgil, calls him a dirty black coward, and then gives a real answer.
Exactly.
And I like the fact that it actually is a review of Canto 1. And I also think it's very interesting that Beatrice has picked a poet to rescue a lost poet.
The next two lines. When I
shall be in
shall
the
be,
presence of
yeah, go
in the
ahead.
presence of my when I shall be in the presence of my Lord, full often will I praise thee unto him.
So
Then
she's
yeah.
she's talking to Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
So she's praising Virgil to
Mm-hmm.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually bribing him. I mean, that's a very crude way to put it, but she's kind of bribing him, hey, go help this friend of mine, and when I'm in the presence of the Lord, I'll praise you to him.
But
Yeah, but
she's
she
already been praising him.
but I
When
don't
I
think
shall,
that's gonna
well, this
that's
is,
not gonna help him.
I think even at the end of the poem, there's still some hope for Virgil.
Yeah, good.
But I don't know in the other translations, but in the Longfellow translation, this is all in the future tense. When I shall be in the presence of my Lord, future, full well will I praise thee unto him.
Yeah.
Future
Wow.
again.
Yeah. That's interesting.
All right. Let us proceed.
So 76.
Mm-hmm.
O Lady of Virtue, thou alone through whom the human race exceedeth all contain within the heaven that has the lesser circles, so grateful unto me is thy commandment, to obey if 'twere already done were late. No farther needst thou ope to me thy wish. But the cause tell me why thou dost not shun the here descending down into this centre, from the vast place thou burnest to return to. So that's curious because he wants to know why she's not afraid to come down there.
Mm-hmm.
Having just told Aeneas that it was cowardly to have doubts about this journey, but he does recognize it's an arduous uh, undertaking.
Okay, I think you meant having just told Dante.
Yeah, having just told Dante that he's being cowardly for not embarking on this, he expresses maybe surprise here or curiosity at least that
Mhm.
she had the nerve to come down there.
Well, I like to think that Aeneas was having a good joke. He was teasing Dante. He wasn't really accusing him as much as teasing him.
You mean that coward that
The cowardice thing, because I mean Dante, was asking a reasonable question, and like I say, immediately after calling Dante a coward, he gives Dante a really good answer of why Dante can go with him on this journey.
He does, but before that, the next three lines, which many times a man encumbers so, it turns him back from honoured enterprise as false sight doth beast.
Yeah.
And he is shy. But what he's saying there is that cowardness holds us back.
Yeah.
maybe teasing.
Well, I don't think that's the teasing. I think the calling of Dante teasing.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But it is true that it does hold us back. But if we're not sure, it's not an unreasonable thing in most circumstances to ask whether this is something I really should do.
So it's like a friend, Virgil's a friend teasing his friend.
I hold a little of that tonality in my mind
Yeah.
in his answer here.
And he is really like the father to the child. So it's that kind of tease. Virgil is like the father to the child Dante as they go along.
Mm-hmm. But I think one of the reasons I'm stressing this is I think this is a very human poem,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it should be approached with respect, but it should be brought to human scale.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's Barolini, de-theologizing Dante. That's the title.
Like, maybe as much as teasing, maybe it's also can be read that passage about if I didn't know better, I think you were a coward. But since I know the truth, let me tell you why I'm here. That
Yeah.
may
Yeah,
be a
that's
modern way
good.
of putting it, you might say.
Sure.
Yeah, that
Sure.
would be a nice way to do it. Okay.
I wonder if we could just go back to the passage that John just read there.
Whenever possible, give a line number.
Yeah, I have to count lines. I don't have this. My doesn't have the. I have to count from the beginning.
No.
Because they're not written.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, but it's like I'll just read back here the part that I'm talking where well, he says right where he reads, but the cause tell me why thou dost not shun the hearest descending down into the center from the vast place thou burnest to return to. I guess I'm, maybe because there's so many like almost like double negatives in there. I'm having a little bit of a hard time penetrating that the translation. And you were explaining, Duncan. I thought I was following it, but then I think you lost me in a way. It almost sounds to me that like he's asking, this is now Virgil talking to. This is like he's having this conversation with Beatrice. It seems to me we're not talking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he is.
So he says, "Well, why could you tell me why you don't go down there yourself?" or something like that. Is what I was kind of getting from that, but I don't think that's right. Why the cause tell me, but the cause tell me why thou dost not shun. The here descending down into the center from the vast place thou burnest to return to. He's talking about her going back to heaven, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why does not shun the here descending down into the center? Why? Tell me why you don't.
No, I think
Okay, so that's line 82.
I'm sorry.
It's line 82, by the way.
Okay. Oh,
I think he's saying.
I guess why dost not shun? I don't quite follow what he's getting.
But the cause, tell me why thou dost not shun the here descending down into the center. So she actually has descended. That's first thing.
Oh.
And I think that he's talking about hey, Beatrice, how come you came down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were up in heaven. How come you came here?
Yeah, I get that. But I guess I didn't get maybe I didn't understand that she had been there before. I guess maybe this is coming here, but okay.
Well, she hadn't been there before. but she has been. He knows, somehow he knows that she is up there in the Imperium. Now, I don't know if that'll make any sense to you, John, because you weren't with us when we read Paradiso. But
Right.
where Beatrice really descends is in this mystical rose design right up in the center of time and space.
Oh,
The
really?
Imperium.
Okay.
And that's where she hangs out. There's like these rose petals that all the
Oh.
saints and angels are sitting around. And
Mhm.
she's sitting, as you will find out soon, she's sitting close to some other spiritual women, Mary, Lucia,
Mm.
Rachel. Okay.
Okay.
And up there in Imperium, what these spirits do is they're just focused on the center point, which we will call God.
Mhm.
And they don't even look at the earth.
I
They're
see.
just
Okay.
focused totally on God. So, she's just up there in the blissful state.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I think somehow Virgil kind of knows that. But as we will soon find out, when she sit up in this blissful state, suddenly one of the spirits, Lucia, is
Mhm.
going to come to her and say, "Hey, your friend Dante is having some trouble. Why don't you go help him?"
Okay. Okay. That clarifies it quite a bit. Thank you.
Mm. And also, can I just say on 52, I don't think we've mentioned this in my notes here. This line, I was among those dead who are suspended when a lady summoned me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I was in those dead who are suspended.
Limbo.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the dwelling place of those virtuous shades not eligible for heaven because they either lived before Christ's birth
Yeah.
or remained heathen. Did we talk about that?
We'll see them in Canto
No.
4.
Yeah, the Canto 4. Soon we will. But who are in suspense is limbo, which means
Yeah.
a pretty nice place, but it's not heaven and it's not hell.
Mm.
So he's hanging out, just like she's hanging out in the Imperium. He's hanging out with the other sages and wise people in limbo. And then Beatrice comes down to limbo to ask him to go help Dante. So I think that's what he's asking. How come you came here to limbo?
Yeah. Which
Oh.
is part of it.
Sylvia, what line was that?
That was 52
Mm-hmm.
through 54.
Oh,
Yeah.
here, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Limbo is the first circle in hell. It's
Mm-hmm.
where the unbaptized and the virtuous pagans
Right.
reside.
Have we got that circle? The circle is somewhere in here.
Yeah.
Oh, the unbaptized and virtuous pagans.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They
So
all
there's
find out.
Socrates and there's, mhm.
Mhm.
It is 2:30
Okay.
at this particular point.
So we're
I'll just stop there.
so where are we finishing what?
80. Well, I'm ticked 84.
84. Okay.
Yeah. Would somebody be kind enough to take a note? Because I will have to confess by the time we get here next, I guess I can take a note myself.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
84.
Line 84. We start
And
with
so
85.
line 84. Okay. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. It's a bit easier trying to get through this bit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Okay. Well, thank you all very, very much.
Thank
Harriet,
you.
did you hang in there with
Everybody.
us, Harriet?
Yeah. Are you there, Harriet?
I did. I did. I've been around the block with you guys. I got lost, I got found, I got confused.
Yeah, along
Excellent.
with all of us.
Right, yeah.
That's great.
We don't know we don't know the answers.
No, but you're so thoughtful and you have so many
No.
ideas.
No,
And
no, we're just reading the note. We've all got references and notes. If you look,
Yeah.
whatever edition you're on, if you look at the back, you'll get some notes on it. So that's what.
Okay, well,
But
I don't even have the book yet, so
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
Oh, I thought it
you,
came. Oh.
but you see how
you
much
have
fun
it.
they can have even without having the book. So there you are.
Okay, so
Excellent.
just for your and everybody's information, there is a site called Digital Dante.
Oh,
All you have to do is Google Digital Dante. It will take you to digitaldante.columbia.edu, but you don't have to remember the Columbia stuff. And it is packed full of all kinds of stuff.
oh, good to know. Fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so that's a good one to start with. And Barolini, Teolinda Barolini has kind of a crypt sheet for each canto.
oh,
And so what I usually do, I usually listen to her lecture. Has her video lectures up there, and I look at her notes.
and
And
is that separate from the digital Dante, or is that a
that's
different?
all part of Digital Dante.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, good, easy, wonderful.
Yeah, if you go there and poke around, you'll eventually discover all the different parts to it. It's quite elaborate. And then actually what I read from, I don't read from a book anymore. I read from let me go back to my, I go to the Dante Lab Dartmouth, Dartmouth.
Got it.
And I find that to be the best, to have the Italian, to have various translations, and to have additional notes. It's a good site too.
Oh, fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That doesn't have the old Italian, does it, Duncan?
Yes, it does.
Oh,
That's
Does,
why I
yeah.
always read,
great.
when I
I was
read
hoping.
Italian, I always read, I read from the Dante Lab because it has the lines very easily marked.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Shall we say goodbye?
Thank you.
Stay
Yeah.
well, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Next
Thank
Wednesday.
you, thank you all, thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Okay.